You want to make everyone jealous. Make them think you got skills, honey. Go ahead and make this peach cobbler pound cake, and they will not doubt you again. Looks like you got it from the bakery, but you made it in your own home. Let's get started. I have a tablespoon of baking powder, half a teaspoon of salt, and 2 tablespoons of vanilla extract, 3/4 a cup of buttermilk, 2 cups of white sugar, 1 cup of brown sugar for a little added flavor. I have 6 eggs. I've already cracked them and put them in a bowl. 2 sticks of softened unsalted butter, as well as half a cup of butter flavored shortening, 3 cups of all-purpose flour, but you can use cake flour if you prefer that. I have 2 cans of peaches in heavy syrup, and these are 15-ounce cans. I have some cinnamon, some nutmeg, and lemon, and I'll be using a few other ingredients later on. Now, to get started with our pound cake, I am going to start with beating the butter. Remember, I let this butter come to room temperature, so I've actually let this butter sit out overnight to become very soft. I prefer to whip my butter a little bit first before adding in the sugar, just to make it easier to beat. And then I'm going to add in all of my sugar, and then I'm going to try to cream it as best as I can. Now, for whatever reason, it was a little bit lumpier today than I would have liked, but if you have a KitchenAid, this will be far easier to do, and I like to use my spatula to help encourage everything to get through my beaters. Once it's well incorporated, we're going to go ahead and start with the eggs. Now, I try to add the eggs 1 egg at a time. I kind of slipped in 2 at one point, but I'm going to beat those in, and I'm going to combine those very well as well. And if you already think I'm doing a good job, please go ahead and click subscribe and that like button, and tell all your friends and family that there's someone out here in Kamira's Kitchen that is bringing you these easy recipes that are downright delicious. Okay, let them know so that this family can grow. Guys, once I have mixed in all my eggs, I'm going to go ahead and put in my vanilla. Now, I'm actually using imitation vanilla today, which I find tastes the same in baked goods. However, if I'm making a custard or a pudding, then I definitely use the real vanilla extract. If you haven't tried that, just give it a go. I think you won't find much of a difference in the flavor in something like a pound cake like this. So I'm going to sift in my flour, and I add 1 cup of flour, the baking powder, and the salt. And at the end of me sifting, you're going to see that there's a little bit of salt left in the sieve because it's a kosher salt. Don't throw that out, okay? Everything needs to go through the sieve. So just go ahead and toss that in. I'm using a common method for making pound cakes where you alternate adding in flour and a little bit of the wet ingredients. So I put in 1 cup of the flour, and then I'm going to put in about 1/3 of the buttermilk mixture. And I'm going to keep going back and forth until I get the mixture like I want it. Now, you're going to see that this batter is going to be thick, okay? Thick with 2 C's. Honey, thick, 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 which is what you want for a pound cake. But you do want to make sure that while you are making your batter, it is really important not to over mix it. So you want to mix it just enough to incorporate it, but you're not trying to beat in, you know, just a bunch of air. You want it just to be mixed, but you don't want it to become, you know, too dense. So mix it just until everything is incorporated. Now, to help me get everything through my mixers, because this batter is so thick, I try to use a technique where I use the spatula to help push everything through the mixer. I find that it helps me work with these really dense batters. Of course, if you have a KitchenAid, this is not going to be a problem. And I actually do have a KitchenAid, but I wanted to show what you all could do if you don't have one, because I know a lot of people just have a hand mixer. And you see how I'm just kind of pushing the batter through my hand mixer from the back side. That will really help. When everything's all incorporated, just take your spatula and scrape the sides and the bottom just to give it one final mix. And to make sure I don't have too much batter left on my beaters, I like to stick it in the batter and then whisk it over top, just letting the batter fling off to the sides of the bowl, and you'll have some relatively clean beaters. Now I'm going to take my peaches and I'm going to drain as much juice as possible into a measuring cup from both of the tins. You want to really squeeze out as much juice as you can. I have buttered a pound cake tin, and I'm going to put a little flour in it. Now, I know it says it's non-stick, but I don't trust it. Okay, I got the flour and butter mine, because that's what I've been raised to do. Okay, but if you want to trust the non-stick label, then hey, do you, honey. Now, it is important to make sure that the middle part of the pound cake pan is well floured as well. I like to just shake a little flour onto it, and I knock the excess out into a trash can, and we're good to go. Now, this is why it was important to really get as much juice out of the peaches as you can. I'm going to take a whole can, and you see it's not very juicy. Okay, I got a lot of juice out, all right? There might be a little bit, but if you get too much juice in here, it's really going to impact how your cake bakes, and you don't want that. It's going to become way too moist. I'm only going to use half of the peaches from the other can, and I'm going to just set the rest of those peaches aside. So in total, I probably used about 20 ounces of peaches. I'm now going to squeeze some lemon juice over the peaches. This is going to help balance some of the sweetness out and give it a really good flavor. You also saw me do this in my peach cobbler recipe. I put a little lemon juice in it for the little bit of acidity. And then I'm going to go in with some spices. I'm going to begin flavoring this up with some cinnamon. I'm just going to go in there generously. I probably used about 1.5 teaspoons in here, and then I'm going to grate in some nutmeg for extra added flavor. You could also add some nutmeg into the pound cake batter with the flour, and that would be so delicious, and I'll probably end up doing that next time. And then I'm only going to take about 1 tablespoon of brown sugar and just put it over the peaches. You don't need to, do too much. It just added a nice little flavor. And then I'm going to start adding in my pound cake batter. Now, how much batter you add really depends on the size of your pound cake pan. I have a relatively small pound cake pan. It's a 9.5 inch. So I actually was not able to add all of my batter. You only want to fill this up about 3/4 of the way, because remember, the cake is going to rise, and you do not want your batter to spill over to the side. If you have a bigger pound cake pan, it may be able to accommodate all the batter, but the peaches are taking up some of the space where the rest of the pound cake batter would have gone. So you're going to have a little left. Now, for me, that wasn't a problem, because I actually ended up just making 8 little pound cake cupcakes on the side, and we enjoyed those, and those were delicious. Of course, I baked them for a lesser amount of time because they were going to be done quicker, but that's something that you could do, because we are not going to waste any of this good batter. Now, I'm going to bake this at 325 degrees for 1.5 hours. Please make sure you put your cake in the middle rack, because it is going to rise. And guys, stay tuned. I'm going to show y'all what happened, because your girl forgot to put hers in the middle rack, and we had a little bit of drama. All right, but we worked it out. Now, as you can see here, I am making the 8 pound cake cupcakes, and I'm just going to put those in the oven as well. Now, for the icing, we are making a peaches and cream icing, honey, and I put in 3 tablespoons of butter with 3 ounces of cream cheese. I'm going to let that butter melt, and then I'm going to add all of that delicious peach juice, peach syrup that is from our canned peaches. This is going to be so good, honey, and this would even be very good on pancakes. I'm going to add 1 cup of powdered sugar and about 2 tablespoons of heavy cream. All right, and then I'm going to whisk that together really good. This is on medium heat. Now, at this point, you're going to see that the cream cheese is not well incorporated. It'll become small, but it's not going to become smooth. So the best thing to do is to whiz this in the blender just really quickly, just to get everything to homogenize. Just set this to the side to cool. And guys, look, this is my cake out the oven, honey. This is why I said put it on the middle rack. Okay, I forgot, and I put mine in like the upper rack, and when it rose, the top part of it started touching, the heat element in the oven. But y'all know, this cake was fine. All right, it was looking a little crusty. You got a little burn on the bottom, but we're going to scrape that off, just like y'all know how we do. And I thanked God that this was the bottom of the cake. Okay, so put yours in the middle rack. Learn from my mistake, okay? And flip it over with the plate, and we're going to take it out. And we're going to have a beautiful cake with some peaches baked into the top. Now, we could stop here, but we ain't going to stop here, okay? It has a nice crust on it. It's nice and moist, but it's not overly juicy because we didn't add all that extra juice. It's just perfect, but we have to take this to the next level, honey. Okay, so I'm going to add a little cinnamon and nutmeg to the top of these peaches to give it a little extra cobbler flavor. super delicious. And then I'm going to go in with this cooled down peaches and cream syrup. This stuff was good. Now you will see that pound cakes are going to have cracks and bumps and very small tears. That happens. Don't worry about it. Just take your icing, your peaches and cream sauce, and just cover up all the little places that don't look too hot. They ain't even gonna know, because they gonna just hear peach cobbler pound cake and they're just gonna tear it up. All right. And then I'm going to add a little bit of brown sugar just to take this to the next level. It looks super pretty on top. Something else I think you could add to the top that would be delicious would even be a little bit of pecans if you want a little crunch. That would be super delicious with this, or some slivered almonds. Ooh, that would be incredible. If you don't know, almonds and peaches go together very, very well. Now I'm just going to cut into this so you all can see the inside of this moist and beautiful cake. And look at all those peaches on the top. Guys, this is your slice. Remember today that I love you and God loves you the most. I bless you all and I hope you have a wonderful day. And I'll see you next time in Kamira's Kitchen.